Terry. Let me tell you right now, I watched Rebel Ridge, which is the movie that we're going to talk about. I was on a couch a Labor Day weekend with my sister, and my sister and I was just browsing the Netflix suggestions, and we just saw this movie, Rebel Ridge. And we said we're not going to watch that. We had to watch Deliverance instead, which I'll talk about in the second half. So I then came home after Labor Day weekend, after visiting my family in the USA, and I came home and I actually started watching Rebel Ridge. Laying in bed, and I'm like, okay, what is this movie about? I just need some background noise. Let me tell you, as soon as I saw that man Terry, as soon as I saw that man Terry, tall drink of water, riding on that bike, I lost train of thought. I'm like, okay, let's clear the slate. Okay, I need to know what's going on here. Where did I find this man? Where did I find this man? I always say some of the best movies and TV shows are stars some of the conspicuous unknown actors of our generation. Gilmore Girls, Lorelai, you have Lauren Graham and Alexis Bledel. We have the people from Bridgerton, all of them completely unknown. We also have, the first Transformers movie, no one knew Shia LaBeouf. Okay. Aaron Pierre, I don't know where he came out of. I don't know where Netflix found this man, but they need to go find more. They need to go promote the person who found this man. Okay. I was hooked from beginning to end. And let me just say, and we're going to go through the plot. They need to make more movies like this. I was so shocked how relatable it is, and we'll talk about it. I'm sorry. Terry, the character, is relatable and hot. Loyal, hot. Articulate, hot. Tall, hot. That's the same thing, I guess. Well-read, hot. Strong, and hot. He is such a three-dimensional, multifaceted character. A character we really don't see on our screens that often. So we have a character that was in the Army, in the Marine, who is really well articulate, and smart. And I'm a Black person myself. I'm not saying that's so surprising. It's not surprising, but usually when they make these characters, when the writers and directors make these characters, they're usually 2-dimensional. So you have this character, not only who is smart, who has a future, who has a plan, who just happens to be homeless, not by choice, but happens to be homeless, and also has an Army background, and doesn't end up falling in love with the female lead. Also, very unusual. So I'm so happy they didn't do that for us, because honestly, I needed to fantasize me being with my man throughout the entire movie. And also, where can I find these type of Terrys in real life? I need a Terry like this. A Terry who can definitely redefine himself, who can definitely make a future for himself without the help of others, who is hardworking and loyal and strong and determined and disciplined and smart and loyal and such a good friend. I'm sorry. This person is a three-dimensional character that I can see myself not only marrying, clock that, because we do need to find the address of this person, okay, but also being friends with. We do have Aarons in our lives. So let's go through the plot, because it's just so good. So we have Terry Richmond, who we don't really know. Because I was doing some things while I was watching the movie. Let's be honest. I'm going to be honest. Netflix has destroyed our attention spans. So we have Terry, who's riding his little bike. He's riding his bike. riding his bike with his earphones and playing some bomb ass music, if I don't say so myself. Okay, bomb music. Pardon my French. And he's riding his bike, and now to his detriment, okay, this is his fault. He did not ride the bike on the side of the road. Now, if he did ride the bike on the side of the road, then the police would have came up beside of him, and he would have saw the cop car. But the cop car wasn't able to ride alongside of him because he was riding slightly off center in the road. So we have Terry Richmond, who's the name of the character, this tall drink of water, riding his bike to go bail out his cousin. Let me just pause there. Do we have cousins that we would ride a bike to a whole different city, and Terry had $20,000 to $30,000 cashed in his backpack? Do we have cousins in which we would do that for? And I'm not mean cousins that you grew up with. Obviously, those are your siblings, but cousins that we did not grow up with, I don't have that. I would contribute to the fund, but to have a man who would cash out his life savings from a restaurant that he had equity in to go bail out your cousin is an incredible man. And he's riding his bike to make sure that you are not in jail. I'm sorry. Do we have anybody in the back who would do that? I would do it for my family, for my brothers and sister and my mom. But for anybody else, I actually wouldn't do that. To have a cousin who would do that for you is an incredible man. So we start the scene here, and the cop car is driving behind him, and the cop car hits the bicycle on purpose. So the cop car, our little Terry's driving his bicycle so freaking hot. And then you have the cop car, because he was trying to pull him aside and wanted to give him a ticket, but he couldn't go to the side because Terry's off center. And as a black person, let me just say this. We would never do this in real life. I'm telling you right now, a black person would not drive or would not ride a bike like this in real life because of situations like this. We were raised by our black parents, grandparents, parental figures to watch out for things like this because we cannot control the people that we are around. All we can do is control ourselves. So we prevent from these things from happening by acting wise and acting, in a certain manner. So in real life, I really do think most people, especially black people, would honestly drive to the side of the road, not in the center. But anyways, the cop car purposely hits him. He then flies over, hits the ground. He's on the floor. He then turns around to see what's going on. The cop comes out of the car, parks his car, come out of the car, points a gun at him and be like, stay where you are. And then Terry understand what's happening here because the cop purposely hit his car. He could have died, right? He's like, okay, he's gonna answer the questions. He's gonna do what he needs to do. So he does it. And Terry ends up saying, is there a reason why you pulled me over, officer? And the officer goes, well, I was trying to pull you over. What's the reason for pulling me over? Not a really clear answer as to why they wanted to pull him over, but okay. Terry goes, well, I need to go and bail out my cousin. I was going to say brother. I thought it was brother. Oh, such a good man. I love this man so much. He wanted to go bail out his cousin today because if he doesn't bail out his cousin today, then he then moves to a actual prison. He's in jail. There's a difference between jail and prison. Jail, in which you're hold for like 24 to 48 hours. And then prison is where you get all the inmates. They'll have their own cells, okay? So that's what's happening. So he's telling the officer, look, officer, I need to go bail out my cousin. And the officer goes, okay, with what? Terry goes, with my money. And he goes, where's your money? He's like, well, officer, I please give me my ticket and let me just go. The officer didn't listen. So the officer opened up his backpack and he goes, oh, we have this money here. And as the movie goes along, we see that the officer's not that, he's still crooked and still a bad cop, but he ends up being a good cop at the end, kind of. And then the other psycho cop, who ends up being complete psycho at the end, but throughout the movie really comes up and helps the cop. So there's two cops now. And they see the $20,000, $30,000, and Terry's honestly telling him, using his money to go bail out his cousin. They didn't believe him. They go, okay, well, you have this money. He got it from, you know, from being arrested. And his cousin was being arrested for possession of weed, which we'll talk about in a second. Possession of weed, you have him getting arrested for possession of weed, not dealing, not using, just possession of weed. I'm pretty sure. Let me know if you comments down below. Possession of weed. He then goes in, and they open up his backpack. Terry goes, I really need that money. Please put my money back. And the police officer goes, no, we're not going to give you back your money. We're going to confiscate this money. And Terry gets really upset, but only in the face, not with his body language or anything, which is how we black people are trained to deal with cops. So anyways, the police officer goes, well, we're going to confiscate this because you can't give this to your cousin because he's going to use it for drugs. And then Terry goes, well, I'm actually here to bail out my cousin. I got this money from a restaurant that I liquidated my assets from. So I really need this money. So they end up confiscating the money. And of course, Terry becomes really, really upset. So Terry ends up becoming a vigilante inside the movie and tries to do whatever he can to go back to the police station and get the money. And that's including using all means necessary. The cops who are inside this police station starts to realize that this is not just ordinary. This is an ordinary hot black man with what color eyes, guys? What color is his eyes? I was going to see his eyes. Give me a second. Is it hazel? His eyes are hazel. Is it hazel? Jesus Christ, his smile. Control yourself, girl. So he goes in. This is not any tall drink of water. This is a guy who was trained in a special team in the Marines. So he's well equipped to deal with situations like this. He's strategic. He thinks 3 steps ahead. He is fast. He knows military tactics. He knows how to defend himself. He knows how to use a weapon. So it ends up progressing, and then the person who ends up helping him ends up being this random girl, which I think is kind of like duty counsel here in Canada. So free counsel that you would get when you are arrested. But she's not a lawyer yet. She's training to become a lawyer. But anyways, she has a history of addiction. And in the middle of the movie, the station, who is completely corrupt and is controlling the entire town, goes into her home and drugs her. And they know that they're drugging her, while she's sleeping. And Terry then finds this and then tries to take them down. It's such a relatable story for so many reasons, because you have a station, you have a cop, you have an entire police station that is so corrupt that is going to truly do whatever it can to perpetuate the corruption. And Terry never ended up bailing out his cousin in time. In fact, his cousin was transferred to the prison where they jumped him and he ended up dying. And that's what triggered something in Terry as well. So all of this accumulation, his friend that's been helping him, gets drugs, and he comes back to come and save her. The helpless, white woman trope. Oh my God, she's so helpless. Tall, big black man has to come and save her. But at least they didn't fall in love, which is great. So I really do think we really do need people like Terry in this world. And I think Terry kind of represents the different types of actors and factors all over municipalities and federal, provincial, state level. Corruption is really dealt with at many different angles. There are different ways of dealing with corruption. In this way, in a small town where the city is purposely arresting people for money, purposely transferring to big prisons even though they're innocent for money, purposely confiscating money that doesn't belong to them for money. It's just so relatable because we can definitely see this happening. We have tons of cities throughout the world who are corrupt like this. And it's so good to see a man so just and so pure and so focused on what needs to be done and gets things done in terms of making sure that whatever the police station is doing doesn't end up doing to anybody else again. And he does that by collecting video footage of the police cars and then giving it to, I think, a journalist or the hospital. I forgot. But it's incredible because every single thing that we see in this movie, I can definitely see happening in real life. In real life, people are getting arrested for possession of marijuana, and it actually is quite scary. I was just looking up the statistics. In America, I believe, we have 227,108 arrests for marijuana violations last year. And this was, I think this was in, 2023, which has been up since the previous year by a few thousand. So that's what the FBI has been reported. And it's actually been even more than that. I think over 300,000 recently. So it doesn't make sense as to why we're treating marijuana as hard, narcotics or hard drugs and giving very strict, heavy penalties and sentences to people who just possess marijuana. If Barack Obama, the previous president of the United States, said that marijuana is fine and he was smoking it, why are we arresting people who are doing the same? And there are a lot of states, a lot of cities in the United States who are still arresting people for just possession of marijuana, which is really, I completely disagree with. And here in Canada, it is legal. You can buy and I believe smoke. I haven't done it, but I believe smoke marijuana. I could be wrong. But I can easily look it up here for you guys. But so it's so interesting. It's a very political movie wrapped around the genre of action. It's a very action oriented movie, but it's in the center. It's very political. And you can totally tell, a man that is just going after corruption. So I'm just looking up the Canada marijuana laws, just for you guys for referencing, so you guys are aware. Cannabis laws. I'm pretty sure possession of it is completely fine. You can even grow it in your apartment. There are rules all around that. So yes. As of October 2018, subject to provincial territorial restrictions, adults who are 18 of age can possess 18 grams of legal cannabis, dried or equivalent, in non-dried form in public. They can share up to 30 grams of legal cannabis, buy dried or fresh cannabis and cannabis oil and food and brownies and things like that. They can grow licensed seed or seedlings up to 4 cannabis plants per residence per personal use. Make cannabis products such as food and drinks as at home as long as the organic solvents are not using to create concentrated products. Possession limits: 5 grams of fresh cannabis, 15 grams of edible cannabis, 70 grams of liquid product, 0.25 grams of concentrates. Because weed is not really a harmful drug. Some people are saying it could be a gateway drug. That's an argument. So to see that a person literally died for holding weed, what Terry did was more than just. And the reason why it resonated for so many people, and it's number one on Netflix, in my personal opinion, because it resonates with all of us in our lives. There are tons of injustices that are happening that we can't really solve or eradicate, and we all wish we had a Terry in our lives, and we all wish Terry was in a lot of cities and all over the world, helping to eradicate and provide justice to individuals, to people. And I just really hope that fictional town in the movie turns out, to not be corrupt. And hopefully the black girl cop ends up being sheriff. And I do think, I think she'll become sheriff. And I think that's so right. And of course the black girl cop, in my personal opinion, guys, I don't think the black girl cop could have done anything, because obviously if the cops are going into that duty counsel, that lawyer to be's home, drugging her while she's sleeping, only God knows what they could have done to that black girl cop. So she had to follow the instructions of the corrupt cops, even though she didn't disagree with it because she had to for the sake of her and her life and her family's life. I completely agree with her decision on doing that, even though it's quite clear she was on the side of Terry. Terry did an amazing job. His acting was incredible. The action scenes were incredible. You were on the front, the edge of your seat from beginning to end. And those are the type of movies that Netflix should really divert a lot of their resources to. I don't know who came up with this like random movie on Netflix. It was so random, but it was exactly what I feel like everybody needed. I want to know the demographics, if it's mostly Black people or mostly, non-racialized people versus racialized people. I really definitely want to know who are watching, who the demographics of that movie, like who's watching that movie. Well done. And I definitely agree with Rotten Tomatoes. It was over 90%. I need Terry to go and deliver some of the things I watch in The Deliverance. What's it in The Deliverance? Let's talk about that. So The Deliverance is the movie that's always also on Netflix. Now, this is the movie that my sister and I definitely did watch. She's the type of person who likes to watch Tyler Perry movies. I am not the targeted audience for Tyler Perry movies. I do like the Madea movies. I just like something different. That's just not for me. But I totally support Tyler Perry's, goal and mission on amplifying and advancing Black voices, Black stories, Black positions, and employing and hiring at their maximum value the actors who end up playing these roles. So when I saw this movie on Netflix, I really thought it was going to be a Tyler Perry movie, not knowing it was not. And it was actually better than I expected, in my personal opinion. And I'm going to talk about some of the randomness, some of the things I do not like about this movie, in my personal opinion. To me, what I do not like about this movie, I wouldn't give this movie 35%. I mean, there were some parts, like some of the lines, like the viral line with the PUSSY, I could smell your PUSSY, like that line that's went viral on TikTok. I think that's totally cringe. I don't even remember that line in the movie, to be quite honest. This movie was very, very scary. Very spooky. More spooky than I thought. It's a perfect October movie, y'all. Perfect October movie for y'all to watch. It is 35% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't disagree. I don't agree with that. I do agree it should be more like 55, 60%, because it was definitely better than expected. I do not understand as to why they casted Glenn Close, who plays Alberta. I don't understand. And the whole side story with her and Omar Epps was really weird. Like, how old is Omar Epps? Like, oh my God, Omar Epps. See, Omar Epps looks 70 in the movie, but I knew he was younger than that. So it was really weird having Omar Epps basically dry humping Glenn Close, who she's actually, 77? That's weird. That's 20-year age gap. So they made Omar Epps much, older for this to happen. It makes no sense to me as to why they did that. But okay. That entire thing, those scenes with Omar Epps and her together, Glenn Close, was really cringe. What was really cringe was the way Glenn Close character's daughter talked to Glenn Close. I don't like how Andre Day's character really talked to her mom, but it made sense as to her story and her background and the trauma that Ebony, who's played by Andre Day, definitely experienced throughout her life. And it looks like her mom just now discovered God. And this is in terms of Ebony's point of view. She just discovered God and hasn't really addressed all of the trauma and all of the issues that she faced growing up that was caused indirectly or directly by Glenn Close, Alberta's the mom. And you can tell that she was quite traumatized and is quite traumatized and quite troubled. And we see that in the current time of shooting of this movie. Ebony, the character, in the present day, we're seeing as they find out that there's a spiritual person, like a spiritual like element, like throughout the movie, throughout the not the movie, the house, there's like a ghost or whatever, an evil ghost. She was essayed by Andra Day's character's ex-boyfriend. There's a lot going on in this movie, which I was able to comprehend, but it was more scary than I thought. And I really appreciate the scary element. To me, scary movies that are tied to some type of reality make it harder for me to watch because it makes it more scarier for me. I don't know why. It does make it more scarier for me. So once the movie concluded, they said that it's based off of a true story, which is actually so scary. So I had to go watch Teletubbies or something after that. Watch some Teletubbies or some SpongeBob. You feel me? I did not actually watch Teletubbies. Just okay. I'm actually late to go see the movies. I really want to go watch a movie right now, guys. But before we close, that's the Deliverance. I honestly would rate that Deliverance, honestly, a 7.5 out of 10. It was actually pretty good. Some of the choices they used as the actors was completely random. The story made sense, and it kind of bridged the gap of like the modern day blockbuster scary movie and like the Tyler Perry movie. It's like if you combine those two together, you have the Deliverance. I didn't mind it. Like, Andra Day's performance was incredible. Her performance was very good. Glenn Close wasn't good. Amar El was super random. The kid's performance, the son's performance was very good. I think he was in Stranger Things. So the son is Caleb the small kid. Anthony B. Jenkins. I don't know where he's in, but he's such a cute kid. I don't know. Yeah, so this is his first big break. It looks like for the little kid who was possessed by the evil spirit, evil ghost. So I give 7.5. I give our movie here with my boy. I was gonna say a little boy. Gosh, stop. With our boy Terry. I'll give him like a 9 out of 10. Rebel Ridge was very good. I highly recommend both of these movies. So I would give Rebel Ridge 10 out of 10. I will give The Deliverance 7.5. I was going to say, there's something else I wanted to say. I think Rebel Ridge was honestly a bit too long. They could have shortened it a little bit. But other than that, I wouldn't change anything for the world. It was perfect. It was literally perfect. And yeah, so it's a thriller action. Totally recommend. Let me know what you guys think about these movies. Guys, let me know. Comment down below where I can find me a Terry in my life in Canada. Let me know. If you're in Toronto, let me know. I need me one. Other than that, let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to follow, subscribe. I always forget to kindly request that in the beginning of these videos, but I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, like, leave a comment if you want to share this video to a friend, because we're a good time here. And I talk about a lot of TVs and movies because I do watch a lot of TVs and movies. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of I'm About It. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay woke, stay healthy, and stay safe.